Hi guys, Ray here, City Fan TV, and I'm joined by the legend, Bernard Deneen from the Citizen channel. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I've been busy during the summer, as you know. I keep plodding out the old vlogs, new and old, of course. I followed the Euros, so I was putting stuff out on that. But it's a quiet time. It's not, you feel as though you're working for nothing, really, or doing it for nothing, because it's no one's that until it kicks off. No one really that bothered.
Yeah, but people are always bothered about transfer talk, tittle tattle.
Especially when there isn't any.
But we're going to do some transfers, but there's not really much coming in. We're going to talk about people going out. We've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we've had promises, not from me or thee, that players will be coming and they're about to sign a contract. Nothing's happened, guys. It's a load of rubbish until it happens. Basically, we're going to talk about players that are leaving mainly. We're going to start off with players who have actually gone. Liam Delap. We can start off with him. Liam Delap has gone. He's gone to Ipswich, who newly promoted, for a fee of £15 million with £5 million of add-ons. Personally, not sure about those add-ons, but the £15 million, that's in the bank. Liam Delap, he's still young. He's still young. He's still young. He's still early 20s. You probably know exactly whether he's 22 or 23 or whatever, but he didn't play much for City. He's still only 21, sorry. He didn't play much for City at all, if truth be told.
I had a quick look at it, whether it's worth doing a vlog. I said, no, I'll not bother.
See, I thought about doing it a couple of days ago, because not for what he did or his potential, but the money was good. If it'd been like a 500 grand player, you're not bothered. 15 million quid is a hefty sum of money. But he's only, according to my research, featured 2 times for the City first team in the Premier League, and once in the EFL Cup, and once in Europe, if I'm right. So not much, basically, not much at all in the 2 seasons that he was with the first team. And after that, he's been on loan in a championship at Stoke, Preston, Hull was his last one, where he played 31 league games and scored only 8 goals. I say only 8 goals because he's a striker. I like a bit more. But on the other hand, he's only 21. So, first of all, I'll start by asking you, what did you make of Liam Delap? Did you ever think he was going to be had a future at City?
Well, yeah, I thought so. I mean, if you think about when Haaland came, I thought Delap would be the ideal player to learn from Haaland and fit in and around when Haaland wasn't available. And I thought he had the potential then to do that. He was obviously only 19 or 20 at the time. So still very young, but I thought that was the ideal thing. But of course, then he was farmed out, and I thought, well, that doesn't bode well. That didn't bode well, did it, for that? And I have looked, and you just mentioned his last goal-scoring exploits, and I have sort of had a quick look at other teams he played for, and I wasn't overly impressed with even that. Obviously, he's a young lad in championship teams, etc. But again, I was a bit disappointed because I thought he had some cracking potential when I first saw him, and he's not seemed to progress. And obviously, farming him out hasn't. For me, 9 goals isn't bad, is it, in 31 games, I suppose, for his age? But I assume that's appearances, not full games.
31 appearances in the league, 8 goals.
Yeah, so it's not great, and it never quite happened, I don't think. And I don't think there's, for his own benefit, I think this is a great move. It'd be interesting to see how he does at Ipswich, because obviously they're in with the big boys now. Interested to see if he gets regular games, in for them. It'd be just good to see how he does, but as I say, he just didn't come on for me. I had high hopes for. I even remember saying, in with Haaland, he could learn a hell of a lot and be useful for us going forward, but it just didn't happen.
Totally agree. When we got Haaland, I thought the same. That we are going to play a certain way with Haaland when he's not available. Delap seemed like the ideal replacement. He was a big burly chap. He used to bounce defenders off him, use his strength and power. And I thought, like as you did, learn off Haaland, and fit in when he's not around. But yeah, I've always said, as soon as you get out on loan from City, and if you've come through the academy and you've gone out on loan, you ain't coming back. Very, very rare that anybody comes back to make it at City. A few players have come back. I think Angelino came back, but didn't make it. So it's very, very difficult. And he's gone. 15 million quid is actually, I thought, a lot of money for him.
Mm.
Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if we bought somebody from Ipswich for a lot of money, because that would help Ipswich with financial fair play. And trust me, these deals gone on this summer, and I've looked at it. I thought this player is not worth that money, and then there's been a transfer the other way. So Club A has sold someone to Club B, and it was like, that's just too
not trying to bypass certain things, are they, mate? There's not
yeah,
no,
absolutely.
no.
I have no doubt, in my opinion, that clubs have been trying to avoid the PSR. Deals went through in June, just before the end of June, which means they're in last financial year when the teams had problems with financial fair play or PSR. We saw it with Danilo going to Juventus. There was no way in my mind Danilo was worth what we claimed he was, and Cancelo coming the other way. In my mind, there was no way he was worth what the 60 million quid that we paid. Just, for him, that was in my opinion anyway. I might be wrong, but I just think there's a lot of overinflated values going on. As soon as one club is selling to another and they're selling someone back, it just looks for overvalue. It just looks dodgy. How can somebody who's played once for the senior side be sold for 15 or 20 million quid? It just seems a bit too much. Anyway, so he's gone, but we will make a huge profit for our for PSR profit and sustainability rules, the Premier League's FFP. So that's the best part of £15 million pocketed. Last thing about Delap, he's obviously the son of he's an Irish lad actually, because he's Rory Delap. His dad played for Ireland, but he's playing for England now. So that's that. Best part of £15 million in.
I didn't see him take a long throw. I don't know if he's any good at those.
He wants to be in the box, mate. He wants to be in the box. Next person we're going to talk about who has gone is your man, Sergio Gomez. And I watched your vlog this morning. I sat there at breakfast watching your vlog about him, part one. And he was a City fan. Very unusual to get a City fan coming to City, but hopefully that's something that's going to happen more and more often, because more and more kids are growing up sporting City. They want to support the winners, and that's why they support City. Now, Gomez is only 23. Okay, he's going to be 24 in the beginning of September. He didn't play that much for City, let's be honest. And he had periods where, I think there was one period where about 3 or 4 months he never featured at all. Did you have high hopes when he joined?
No. Not really. We didn't know much about it, did we, mate? It was a last minute thing. Of course, Cucurella had fallen through. Thank God. But actually, he did play that. I didn't think he played that bad for his country in the Euros, but he didn't play that good either. But so it was a surprise, and it's a shame. I mean, we got a bit of use of him in the Champions League. He got himself in trouble in the Champions League as well, but Premier League wise, I think Pep didn't really want to play him at all at any stage, apart from the odd few minutes here and there. And it's just seemed to be an odd thing, because he's got a bit of talent. Of course, he has. He's got certain things. He's played obviously initially a right wing, converted to a left back, converted to a lot of these marauding, hopefully marauding left backs, but it never really happened with us, did it? It never sort of came in. He had a couple of cracking games. He thought, he looks potentials there. But I think it was that Champions League game where he got sent off. I think ever after that, he struggled. He just struggled. I think Pep had enough. And that one sending off was enough to push Pep to sort of, not in the anti-Gomez league, because he did play him in the Champions League.
The thing is, after that first season, he played for Spain in the Euros or World Cup?
The under 21s?
Yeah. And he was pretty good. He was top scorer.
Yeah, he got their player of the tournament, didn't he? I mean, it's interesting enough though for Anderlecht in there. Obviously, before he came to us, and obviously Vinny Company was a big bang on the drum for him. Even though he was their player of the year that season, 21-22, I think it was.
Yeah.
He did have a big mistake he made that season that sort of he got a bit of stick for in a crucial game, and I think that's the problem with Gomez. He just does perhaps one silly thing that perhaps Stones he did when he first come to City, and he sort of has to live with it for a while, and he improves and improves. Gomez never got that chance to do that.
The thing is that Anderlecht, he scored 6 goals in the league, and he got
a few assists as well, didn't he?
14, 15 assists. So pretty good return. But
I think he would have fitted in at most other Premier League clubs somewhere. But obviously, he's at the right club because he supported us, but at the wrong time. I think I said on the thing.
But I mean, I don't think he got enough of a run personally. That performances for these Spanish under-21s showed us a different side, a side to him that we wanted to see. Going forward, he was playing left midfield or something there for them.
Yeah.
And so we thought, he's a player that can go forward. And he's defending. Okay, he got caught out a couple of times. It happens. It's happened when you're 21 years old. You're going to make mistakes.
Well, we've got a right back at the moment who gets caught out all the bloody time, mate. Doesn't affect him, does it?
Absolutely. So I think it was a bit harshly treated. But, last season was going to be extremely difficult when we went out and splashed all that money on Guardiola. And then we ended up with too many good defenders. And you're looking again in midfield. We had too many midfielders for Gomez to feature, really.
Of course, he was competing with Cancelo when he came as well, wasn't he? Who was obviously the in thing for a little while.
Yeah. So he's gone. He's gone to Real Sociedad. And the fee was about £8.5 million. Now, we paid 11 million for this kid 2 years ago on a 4-year contract.
We've obviously got no plans of buying anyone from Real Sociedad, have we?
No, I really don't think so. I really don't think so. We've got a 30% sell-on clause if they do move him on in the future. And as we've seen, players can suddenly become much better at other clubs given a run. Now, it wouldn't surprise me in 3 years' time if this kid was playing for Spain or, had come through, because you've got to have... There's no way City are paying 11 million. All right, they might have been helping... Conspiracy theorists might say they were helping Anderlecht out because Vinny was there. But you're not paying 11 million quid to get a player not to think that he's got a future with you. You're not picking him, buying him for that much money to flog him on without him playing. You think there's a potential there. If you didn't think there was... If you're looking for making a quick buck, you'd pay 2 or 3 million quid, not 11. But the funny thing is the way accounting works, we made a profit on him, even though we bought him for 11, sold him for 8.5. But his value in the books was 5.5 million. So we made about 3 million quid on him, 50 million on Liam Delap. That's 80 million quid. Thank you very much. So we're doing all right there for our accounts. Next person I want to talk about, and we're going to need that money. We're going to need that money for the last person I talk about. The next person is Ederson. Now, we've heard rumours about Ederson and willing to leave for the right deal. City reluctant, but won't stand in his way if the money's right for City, which I think is fair enough. Which they're talking about a Saudi club offering City 25 million and City turning it down, which I think is fair dues. I don't know what the right value is and what City want for him. I would suggest 40 million is more like it, but City might let him go for 30 or 35. I can see the reasons why he'll want to go, because there's millions of good reasons why he wants to leave. They offer you 30 million a year. He's only on apparently 120 grand a week at City, and City now are looking at offering him a new contract at 200 grand a week, but it's not going to compete with Saudi. 200 grand a week is just over 10 million a year. You lose half of that, best part of in tax. So you got about 5 million quid. If Saudi turn around and say, we'll give you 20 million tax free for 3 years, he's going to walk away with 60 million quid instead of 15. There's no comparison. And he's not paying rent on a house here, they'll give him a palace there and a driver, and so he's got a lot of expenses not incurred. That's a good, compelling reason for him to move on. Do you see City letting him go easily for an extra 5 or 10 million?
Well, it's the same syndrome, isn't it? If he's not, if he wants to go, Pep's not going to mess about and try and convince him, is he? If you're talking 120 grand to 200 grand, I mean, I think he's certainly worth that for what he's done for City. I do worry about his injury problems last season. All of a sudden he's starting to get a little. He's always been a brave keeper. He's always done things that have caused him damage, whether he's been daft or whether he's done the right thing. He's done things that have caused him damage. And I think we said at the end of last season, it could potentially be, you might think there's not that much else he can do at this level. He might be happy with what he's done and not want to stay and do anything more. And he's a personality we don't know much about, do we? Apart from seeing him run on a pitch, sort of wave at you reluctantly, sometimes it feels, to the fans when he gets to the end to put his gloves down. He seems a decent enough guy, but he's just so hard to read, isn't it? I think that's a problem. And as I say, for 25 million, I'd take that as an insult, in fairness. But as you say, when it gets up to 35, 40 million, there might be more tempted, because if he's not there, I think he's back for training yesterday with the rest of the guys. If they can psychologically sense that he's not quite there, then it could still be a possibility.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, he's got a contract till 2026. So he's got 2 more years on that. In the accounts, he's probably worth about 6 to 8 million. I think the number in my head was 6 million, the way he's been amortized down. So if we do sell him for, let's say we sell him for 35, we'll make best part of 30 million quid. Add that onto the other 2, players, and that's not bad, is it?
But my problem is, we will need a good goalkeeper coming in.
You'll need, if you're not, would you have Stefan Ortega-Moreno as number 1 or number 2? That's the question then.
I'm not convinced game in, game out Stefan's the goalkeeper we need.
I don't know who you'd get then. I
don't know. I have no idea. I mean, obviously, I know that guy that did well because it costed him very well. He was a free agent or something. Something's going on with him where he's free to go wherever he wants. But I don't know too much about other goalies at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know much about European goalies, especially young ones. We didn't know much about Ederson.
Also, we don't know, obviously Pep's style of goalkeeper won't necessarily be another manager's style of goalkeeper, and we're still up in the air as to what the hell Pep's going to do.
Talk about him in a minute, mate, don't worry. But Ortega-Moreno, I mean, personally, I'd give him a season.
Yeah, you give him a chance, but you're then playing with your chances of winning titles and stuff by giving people chances.
Yeah, but okay, but then, as your number 2, would you do an Arteta? Would you do an Arteta and get someone who can compete with Ortega-Moreno, who's at a very, very similar level? Because on one hand, you'll say Ederson's better. You might say Ederson's better than Ortega-Moreno, but I don't think the gap is as huge as all that. Would you get someone who's about the same level as Ortega-Moreno, or maybe just below his level but much younger, and let them compete?
Yeah, it's whether if Ortega's number 1, again, it's the problem with the young ones, isn't it? If you get a good young one, is he willing to sit on the bench every week and playing cup games? Because that's what he's talking about, isn't it? But to have 2, very few clubs have 2 quality keepers, do they? Very few clubs can do it. You can't hang on to them. It's impossible. And City, in theory, at the moment, have probably got 2 keepers that are good enough for what we want and good enough to win titles, and that's the problem. So at the moment, is Ortega happy to carry on as number 2 to Ederson, even though he's signed an extension to his contract?
Another interesting one over the summer, so we'll see what happens. I think that first offer of 25 million. I wouldn't say it's derisory, but they're saving their money to pay the player, and that gets if they've got a pot. Let's say they say we've got 50 million to spend. By offering the player more money, that kind of makes him more agitated to leave, and that might maybe how it works. What they don't want to do is pay City 40 million and pay Ederson 25 million. They want to get away with
Ederson's of an age where he could probably go over there for 2-3 years and still have a bit of a career coming back out into European football for whichever club. I don't think he'd come back to City, but so it's certainly we'll have to see, won't we? We'll have to let that one ride and see what goes on over the next couple of weeks.
Because Ederson's still, he's not that old, is he? What was he, 31?
Old. I mean, if goalkeepers can play to the late 30s.
Yeah. Well, he's 30 now. He'll be 31 in a month's time on 17th of August. So
he might have an allegiance to some Argentinian club that he might want to go back and play for at some stage. If you earn your money in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't really matter about the money then, does it, coming back?
He's Brazilian. Why is he going to Argentina?
Sorry, Brazilian, some Brazilian club. And then obviously that was so if he can earn his money in Saudi, then obviously because they're not going to pay fortunes, because he can't, can they, in Brazil? But he might have a team that he wants to play for. And it won't matter about the money then, because he's set up for life anyway. You
pick up 20 million for 3 years. Who cares about the money? You can go and buy the club and make sure you're picked every week until you're 50. Briefly mentioned Julian Alvarez. Obviously, there's been talk about him wanting to leave, although he played, I think, was it the most number of minutes or the most games for City last season? He featured, was it 36 league games he featured in last season? Yeah. Although the first half of the season, he was starting a lot of games and scoring goals, getting assists. Towards the end, he was coming on a sub because he wasn't scoring or getting assists. He's getting a few goals here and there. But he's never going to be number one. He's never going to push Haaland out. So he's fighting in all honesty, as a bit part player, because he's not going to, when I did my video last week, I said, you've got Rodri there, you got your 4 defenders and the keeper, that's 6. You've got 5 players. Haaland is going to play, so you're down to 4. Foden's going to play, you're down to 3. I think KDB this season might be in and out, but let's say he starts the season, you're down to 2 players. Okay, where does Julian Alvarez fit when you've got Bernardo? If Bernardo stays, he starts. So Julian Alvarez is going to fight against Doku, Kovacic when you want an extra defensive midfielder, and Grealish for a starting spot. And we're getting that winger coming over from Girona. So for me, that's something he's got to consider. But on the other hand, the kid wins everything. He won the treble. He's won Champions League. He's won World Cup. He's won Copa America. He's won the World Club Championships. UEFA Super Cup. He's won everything.
He's got won the Olympics, hasn't he now?
Yeah. So
we're not gonna see him till like Christmas anyway. The way it's going.
So the question is, 2 questions. Do you see any truth in this rumor? Because I did say, the people who put this out got the dates wrong with his contract, and I'm thinking, how can you mess that up if it's a true story? So do you think there's any truth in it? Would you see why he'd want to leave, and would you be happy for him to go?
I think I don't think there's any truth in it, but you can fully understand someone latching onto it and being clever and all smart about it and thinking, because it is. If he has another season like he had last season, as I say, you said he did start the season well, but he won't want another season as he had last season. He wants to be, he wants to be competitive and he wants to play. He's a young lad, he's not at the end of his career. He's waiting around, and he can't afford to have another season like that. And Pep's got to either utilise him. He's got to be useful for the club over the season. Well, it's pointless of him being there. It's just a waste of his talent, and that's the problem with Alvarez. So I'm sure Pep knows this, and I'm sure the guy, obviously behind the scenes, the chatting and what plans he's got. I'm sure Pep's got new plans for this season compared to last season, because let's face it, if he keeps with more or less the same squad, it's going to be very difficult again. When Alvarez needs to know he's wanted, and he needs to know what it is going forward. So I can understand the rumor, why the rumors came about, and can fully understand that. But I'm hoping from a player's point of view, for us as fans as well, we can
Mm.
find a spot for him and make more use of him. Even though, as you said, he played all those minutes, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like it on what we got out of him, did it? It didn't feel as though he'd played every, all those minutes in the games. We wanted more out of him, and I think Pep needs to get more out of him. So again, another interesting one. We'll have to see, but
yeah. The thing is now, when you look at it, what's happened to Cole Palmer, what might happen to Alvarez, do you think this will be, how much of an influence will it be on younger players coming to City who are beyond academy level? Or if you're 15 and 16, and 17, 18, I can see City being a really good option because of the development. But if you're 18 to 20, you want to be playing football in the first team. So do you think that's people are going to look at City and say, hang on, they're stockpiling great talent. Grealish, £100 million player, can't get in. Alvarez, World Cup winner, Copa America winner, won all these trophies, can't get in. Do you think that's going to be a problem going forwards?
No, I think we've had the problem for a while now. I don't, it's a problem, but I think you just live with it, just get on with it. The team as it is, the fact we're successittle, all right, just the one, 3 trophies last year, but one really, one proper trophy. I'm not saying we're on a downward slide, and it'll be different in the future, but it's a problem we've always had, and it's a good problem to have. And if you're playing a team's playing 60 odd games, and there's more games this year, don't forget as well with the Champions League. People like that Alvarez has said he's bound to get loads of minutes again. It's just a matter of him.
It might not be the minutes. It might not be the minutes in the games that he wants. With the respect, he might not be happy playing in the.
But I don't think the problem's there. But it's a problem I think we've had for a few seasons now, and you just get past it. And of course, the only way that problem disappears is if you start being unsuccessful. You get another manager in, and it's a total change of style and attitude. But hopefully, it's still a bit off yet.
I agree. I think some players will look at it, but you want a young player to back themselves. I want, if a player can't back himself to fight his way into the side, okay, and doesn't want to learn under Pep, then we don't want him. Yeah, look at Declan Rice. He could have come to City, but he was concerned that he wouldn't get games because obviously, there's a gulf of difference in class between Rodri and Declan Rice, as we saw at the Euros. I mean, there's no comparison, regardless of what Arsenal fans want to say. There is no comparison. So Rice is worried, even for £100 million, that he might not get in it. So there will be some players who are concerned about that. But as I said, you're not prepared to back yourself. We don't want you. We want that confident player. The last person to talk about isn't a player. We've got to talk about Pep. I saw a rumour last week that City were going to offer him an extra £15 million a season to stay. He's apparently on 20 million at the moment. They're going to offer him another 15. And you think, wow, that's a lot of money for a manager. But he's the most important cog in the wheel, isn't he?
The thing is, though, even if you do it for a year, is it going to make a lot of difference? Isn't it best just to get on with it and move on and just get it out of the way?
Contract is. If he extends for 1 year, or it's totally different, then I'd say, what's the point? If he extends for 3 years, then I say,
well, that's it. That's what I'm trying to get at. I just can't see. It's just if it's just a year, as you say, without. But who knows? He looks all energised, isn't he? Nice and brown, tanned, enjoying himself at Wimbledon and various things. We know he loves it. We know he wouldn't get anywhere else what he gets at us. But I think if you're going to offer him that sort of money, I want more than a year out. Extra. I want a little bit more than that.
I don't see the point of dragging it out for a year. Everybody knowing he's going to leave. It might not be. It won't be a conscious thing, but a subconscious thing is you will put less effort in. You will listen less. If you know he's here for 3 years, you've got to pull your finger out. Otherwise, you could have 3 years of tough times, or you could do Cancelo bouncing here, there, and everywhere. But knowing he's only going to be here for another 6 months or something, maybe think, hey, I'll forget about the next 6 months, take my money and work hard for the next guy.
It's incredibly difficult, isn't it? I mean, obviously, I know Klopp had with Klopp and Liverpool, and they announced it, Christmas time, was it, last year? So you knew where you stood and things like that. But, when you've got an icon like Pep, it's an incredible decision to make, and it's interesting how we're going to do it.
It was really funny because they had that bounce and they were winning games, and everybody said everybody's raising the game because Klopp's leaving. We're going to win. They're calling it the quadruple when it was a quadruple because Europa League doesn't count really. And then they ended up with was it a Tin Pot Trophy? Well, the Carabao Cup, wasn't it? Yeah. And that's all they had to show. And then they faded away at the end. And then they blamed it on Klopp announcing that he was going to leave. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Cheeky gits. But that's another one. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Pep. So we talked about players leaving, and this is going to be a short next question. Who's coming?
all the suspects have not arrived, have they? All the Guimares of this world and all that sort of thing. The guy from West Ham, blah, and all this.
Paqueta, I don't see Paqueta because of his issues. I can't see him from the information we've got getting off. He could be banned for life.
Yeah.
So
I'm feeling. I think Pep might utilize people like Lewis a little bit more this season. A couple of other younger lads. And as I say, but it all boils down to what Pep's going to do as well and what he wants to do. But I don't see anyone special coming in, to be honest, at this point in time at all. To add to the, we'll keep what we've got. Losing Gomez is not a real blow to the squad as such. That's no problem. Losing Delap obviously isn't a blow to the squad, and that's the only thing. If you say it's only if you lose anyone now, and at the moment, hopefully, fingers crossed.
There's been no news on Bernardo. There's no news on Bernardo. KDB, it has to be a
KDB, Bernardo, Ederson are staying. But I think we're going to see very little, aren't we? I think Pep's
the two players that one rumor was a while ago. Another one's research. Well, there's three, and I don't. As I said, in the past, I don't watch too much of what other people say, but you just see some headlines coming up from people. Where is Bruno Guimaraes? I thought he was. Daily reports on Bruno Guimaraes. He's coming. He's about to sign.
Yeah, I thought he'd sign. Just waiting for the pictures. Just waiting for the official thing, mate, on that one. Yeah,
I was waiting for the 1st of July because I thought they were waiting for the 1st of July.
What date are we now? All right.
That's what we were told. That's what we were told anyway. But the people that I think that I'd like Kimmich. Because I think we need a replacement for Walker, and Kimmich offers you that he can play right back. And he can play DM as well. So if Rodri's not around, maybe we've seen Kovacic can't do it on his own. Maybe Kimmich is your man. Kimmich and Kovacic would work. Kimmich, even though he's 29, he's got that experience.
And we've still got Calvin, mate. I've seen him in training. I've seen him back at the CFA. We've still got him, mate.
No, I'm not knocking him. I mean, Kimmich is still only 29. I think he's got a good few years in him. And the other one,
old for us, though, mate, isn't he? Kimmich, although as I say,
29.
Yeah, a bit old for us. Not our usual age.
No, I agree. But
I understand it fully.
we re-signed Walker at 33. So, and Pep had Kimmich when he was at Bayern Munich. So, and there's rumours that Bayern Munich want to offload him. He wants to leave.
And you'd have to. I mean, obviously, if we didn't get him, he'll go to someone else in one of our opponents. So,
The other player that came, his name popped up, and you might have seen him winning the Euros this summer, is Dani Olmo. So his name's popped up. What do you think? I mean, he couldn't get in the starting 11 at the start.
We're lowering our standards on the handsome players. I mean, we had Nunes, who isn't the most handsome of guys, and now we're going for Olmo, who isn't. I always thought we had Rodri's of this world, the big hunks and the big good-looking Stonesy, all the big good-looking guys, and all of a sudden we seem to be going for the United players that look ugly. I don't understand it.
Would you? I mean, Dani Olmo's 26. He's at RB Leipzig, who won the Bundesliga. They're going to be in the Champions League next season. Do you think he'd want to come to City? Do you think City would want him?
Well, I was quite impressed. As you say, in a pretty dour Euros, he certainly stood out a little bit. But yeah, it's all rumour. It's just because someone plays well, we want him. It's like any top club. It's well, not really. No one's that bothered by the sounds of it. It's only City who are interested in buying these players, but it's only City can afford it. Apparently,
absolutely. But Chelsea going to put. Chelsea got money coming out there. The last person, actually, I forgot to mention, and because you mentioned him, is Nunes. What's happening with him?
Yeah, I think this is again a bit similar to Alvarez. Really, he's got to either do it, or it's going to be another situation where he'll just be moved on. So he's got to do something this season. But again, was it another like Gomez, something we brought in just for the sake of it, and he was never going to quite fit in? But well, again, we've not seen him. Didn't see him at the Euros, did we? I think he got a few minutes, didn't he, in the dead rubber of the game, and that was it.
He only featured. It was his first season, so I'd say he's got another season in him. He only featured in 17 league games. I'm surprised it's as much as that, and 28 games overall. But we'll see, because I can't see him moving on after one season.
No, he won't go anywhere. But
he's only 25.
We've got to make full use of him this season. Let's say we're not bringing anyone in. We're going to have to, because we didn't have a big squad anyway. So we've got to make full use of him.
Absolutely. So hopefully that's enough transfer tittle-tattle to titillate you boys and girls out there and keep you going until something actually happens on the way in. Going out is fine, but we want to see someone arrive. Bernard, my friend, thank you so much as usual. Take care, guys, and we'll see you around Blues.